Welcome to Indie Depth, the show where we go in depth with independent filmmakers about the filmmaking process. Today with me, I have Gabrielle Cody. She is a working actress. She's been on the ID channel and Teen Vogue. She's recently done a proof of concept project for Netflix, which is super exciting. And she's also graduated with a business degree. Welcome to the show, Gabrielle.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
Of course. Now, you're an actress and you're working. That's what
Yes.
everybody wants.
Yeah.
How did you how did your story go? Like how did you get here?
Well, okay. So I got into it in high school, in high school theater, and I really liked it. So I tried just, submitting some headshots here and there, and I didn't really get any traction. So I just kind of waited a little bit, and then I got into community theater. And there I realized, you know what, I like this. I can maybe do this as a job. And actually, something that really sticks out to me, I was in my senior year English class, and the teacher goes, okay, everybody get a piece of paper out. You're going to college next year, or you're supposed to. Write down what you want to do. What do you like? And everybody had these lists of things like scientists, they want to do math, accounting, they want to do all these different things, cooking, and I only had acting on it. And everyone was like, what'd you put? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like business, something, because I only liked acting. And then from that moment, I went, oh my God, this is what I want to do, then I got to do it. So I kind of kicked myself in the butt and I said, let's do this. And that's kind of where I started. I just, yeah, started from there.
Well, that's good. It sounded like you knew what you wanted to do and you were focused.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
you weren't like, oh, should I be a scientist or a veterinarian? It wasn't like a push pull. Um, so you went kind of full on towards acting, and um, so you done started with community theater, did a couple of short film projects,
Yes.
and did you have to have that tape? Do you have to have that reel in order to kind of get noticed?
Yes and no.
Okay.
There's always an array of answers for a lot of the questions in acting and what to do. And you don't need a reel when you're starting out, because if you haven't done anything, you have no footage. So it's nothing to, feel bad about. Um, but to get into bigger projects, usually, or to do things on TV, you want to have a reel so people know, okay, we're looking at you, you've done stuff, or we can see your work, and, you have credibility. And we know what you can do, and we see your strengths and your weaknesses, and, we'll hire you. So the further along you go in your career, of course, you're going to need a reel. And it's an easy way for someone to go, I don't know you, but you were really good right there. I'll hire you. So, yeah, in the end, you will need a reel. But in the beginning, you can use audition tapes, anything. You can do a monologue to like what we're doing now. I have a phone on a tripod. You can go against the plain background, do a monologue, and that could be, your reel when you're starting out. So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure you have good lighting because that
Oh,
counts.
yeah. Amazon telling you get a lighting kit, really cheap, and then I have one now. I bought like 3 lights. You just plug it into the wall, and you have good light.
That's great. I use that stuff like for photography. I don't know if I got it off Amazon or eBay, but
Yep,
just a cheap
and it's
thing.
like,
You just need lights, and it's all in how you position them. It's
hmm
not too intimidating.
not at all.
And so now you have an agent and a manager.
Yes.
What's the difference between the two? And like how did you get to that point?
Okay, so getting those two, the two that I have now, I love them, and they're great. We're just a great team, and I'm really happy with the ones that I have. But I didn't have them in the beginning, so I started being my own agent and manager first, and I had to do all these other things and figure out contracts and all that, which I know we'll talk about later. But I had a couple managers before the one I have now, and I had an agent before, and it's kind of like a relationship. It can't be all of you or just all of them doing it. It kind of needs to be even. You both are working together. So when you're looking for an agent or manager, you can't just sign because, oh my God, someone's interested in me, or,
Hmm.
oh, it's an agent, because it's not going to work in the end if you guys aren't working together and you don't have, good chemistry as a team, because it is a business. Like, show business, but it's the show part that's also the business part.
Hmm.
And you want to have a good team. So for me to find an agent and manager, what I did was what they used to do back in the day, which was the old school ways, what they say, where they get a hard copy of your headshot and your resume. You stick it on the back of one another, and you put it in a little envelope, and you write out the address, and you send it off. And usually you might not get a response because it is harder. They just stack up on like the agents and managers' desk and they might throw them out. But there's always a chance. One day someone's like, oh, let's just go through the pile, and they might pick yours up. So that's what I did in the beginning. And then nowadays you can email as well. So there's a ton of casting websites, and I can list a few. Like Backstage is a really great site, and that's where I got my first agent and manager off of. And you just go in and they list a bunch from A to Z of agents and managers, and they give you the contact info, where they work, like the address, and you have to do your research because some don't like unsolicited things. That's how I got them. I emailed. The hard copies didn't work to send in, so don't try it if you don't want to. But you never know. So I prefer email, that because nowadays a lot of people are emailing to receive headshots and resumes, and I did that and it worked. So I got a response. I mean, I did a ton. I think I sent about over 100 emails every day, always sending them. Yeah, I know one time, like in the summer, 8 hours a day, I was actually just working to send and researching and doing this. So you really have to be motivated and you want to do it. But that's how I got my first agent and manager. I went to Backstage and I just found them and sent my materials over, and fingers crossed,
Right. And then you caught the attention of agents and managers. So
Yes.
what is the difference between an agent and a manager?
Okay, so for an agent, they are going to be taking less out of your commission. So an agent, there's fine lines for what they do, because sometimes they can kind of do the same things, but agents, basically, they will handle your legal stuff. They will, if you're with let's say you're auditioning for someone and they're like, okay, we want you, but we want to pay you this much. Your agent will be negotiating for you, not your manager. And your agent only takes 10% if you're a part of the union, so SAG-AFTRA. If you're not union, could be a little more. There's just so many fine lines to see who does what, but they submit you all the time. That's what agents do. And then managers, they're managing your career. So they're making sure you and the agent and them are all on the same page. They're making sure if you have a PR person, you guys are all, they're coordinating everything for you. And they'll also be able to help you make decisions on like, hey, which audition tape do you like better, or this and that. So I feel like managers are kind of the backbone of making sure everyone's working together, and the agent's the backbone of making sure you're getting out on those jobs, making sure like this is the time where you got to go. So everyone has a huge part. It's just a little different with how it works. And then managers they can take anywhere from 15 to 20 to 25%.
And I imagine the manager is more like looking out for your career, for the image.
Yes.
From what it sounded like, the agent is more like, oh, well, let's get you out here and put you in front of all these people, and here are a bunch of roles that you can take. And your manager might look at that and say, okay, this you want to look for, this might not be what you want.
Yeah, and it can go both ways too. If the manager hears of something, they'll send it to the agent and the agent will submit. Yeah, so they're really just working hand in hand, and maybe your agent doesn't approve of it, so your manager's like, you know what, never mind, like we're not going to do it. And everyone works together. But
oh wow, so it's like it's a big relationship.
Yes.
That's good. But you have other people looking out for you too, which is
of course.
Which is nice. So you go on your first audition, interview, whatever. What do you? How do you plan? What can you expect?
Oh, let's see. No, it depends. If you're doing theater, very different. You will need to go very early if you're non-union. I think about 6 in the morning. Leave on a train, depending on where you are. If you're going to the city, you would probably, if you're in the city, you can leave a little later. But if you live in Jersey or, live further out in New York, you have to leave probably 4:30 in the morning on a train, get to where you got to audition by 6 o'clock if it's for Broadway, or anything that is for the union if you're non-union. And then you sit outside and you sign your name on a little piece of paper. And this is for AEA, for anyone wondering, because for television and film, it's SAG-AFTRA for the union, but for theater and Broadway and off-Broadway, that is AEA for their union. So you'll sign on a piece of paper that you're non-union, and you just wait. It is a waiting game. I mean, really, like you just sit, you wait, and if they have a slot, you're able to get in, then you audition. But if you're union and you're going to a theater audition, put your name on the list, you have your scheduled time, you go in, and you audition. So that's for theater, and you always bring a songbook. If it's for a musical, for a play, you usually prepare 1 to 2 monologues, contemporary and dramatic. If not, they'll tell you come and you'll read a scene. So it really all depends for theater. And for film and television, you'll have sides usually. So they're audition sides, that's what they call them, and you memorize. Big thing. And in New York and LA, it is different. Like people say with film and TV and commercials, there's a difference. But like the one thing on both coasts is that everyone's working hard and everyone's memorizing. Like you need to memorize and know your lines. Now you don't have to, if you forget or you're not completely off book, it's not going to fault you for anything. But to be fully prepared, you should memorize because it's easier to work with. You know, the camera, like I'm talking to you, you can see the connection in my eyes, and versus just like looking at a paper like this, going like it won't look as good. So always be prepared. Bring and if you know your lines, bring them with you because you don't want to be there and blank and then not know your lines because that has happened to me too. Even though I've had my lines in the room, it still has happened, and you never know, you know. And then you always want to bring, I think, water and a snack. Most people don't think of that, but you need to be prepared. And if you're nervous, you get like dry mouth, you want to drink a sip before you go in, bring a snack that's healthy and doesn't get stuck in your teeth, like carrots, celery, anything that you don't need floss. But I would also say bring some floss if you have a granola bar because you're going to be smiling. So they're going to see all your little pearly whites. And, you know, you don't want just a piece of food sticking right there.
No, it's like, oh, yeah, she was great, but something in her teeth. That's what they remember. You don't want that to be the takeaway.
Yeah, no, you really don't. And then if you're having a kissing scene, so if you have a callback or you're going for a chemistry read, bring mints, you know, be considerate of your other scene partner. Also, let's see, headshots, resume, always bring that, a hard copy. Because even if they say, we have it, it's in the system, no, you bring one. Because that day there might be a different casting director, casting assistant, they want to see it. So always do that. And always have them stapled. I know some people like to glue them, but out in LA, I learned it's better to staple it too. So just staple your headshot and resume and put it in a little folder. You know, that's it. And then I feel like that's basically how to prep for, you know, an audition. And then commercials, it's different. You usually wear bright colors for a commercial. Like if you're going for a certain business or brand, you know they have a certain color that they use. Wear that t-shirt because subconsciously, like, the people that are casting you will be like, oh, red goes with this brand. Oh, and like it actually helps you have a better chance of booking the job than not. So they're just little things that you would, you know, need. And usually for commercials, you're not prepped. You just go there, they hand you the piece of paper, and you just cold read. So always practice cold reading. And you know, you're driving down the street, there's a sign, read it out loud. Like you could practice anywhere. So that's a few things to prep for your audition. I feel like, yeah. That's it. I feel like that's like a good core amount.
Yeah, that's a nice primer for anyone who's really interested in doing this and what they can expect.
And breathe. Just breathe. If you forget to breathe, you might pass out.
Yeah, same as like when you're exercising. Breathe.
Yeah, I think I forget sometimes.